reaching up and making the grab. Odell Beckham Jr. Stafford buys time. Protection is good, and so is the pass. Henderson came out of the backfield. Jefferson in motion. Henderson, nice cutback. Stafford rolling and throwing. Caught, touchdown. Stafford caught on the run. Cup, who else? Comes out of the slot to the right, looks that way, fires that way. Cup makes the grab at about the 18-yard line. Pass, Cup, got it, touchdown. Burrow trying to keep it going, gets spun down, gets it away, and incomplete. It looked like P-Ron might have had a shot to make the grab, but the Rams now running down to celebrate with a defensive play.
And guess who? Guess who? I mean, you don't even have to think about it. Do not even have to think about it.
Pointing to the ring finger.
Hey guys, welcome to another episode of East Coast Rams podcast. I'm your co-host, Ashton, with my awesome co-host here, Zach. How you doing, Zach? The Rams have started OTAs. We have some news. This is going to be a mini pod, guys. It's the off season. We don't want to make drama where we don't need to. We're going to just talk about some simple subjects, give our opinions on it. And we'll probably start some more season preview stuff maybe in a few weeks. But Zach is traveling for work, having a lot of fun. How are you doing?
Good. Yeah, I'm on the road. I'm in Rhode Island, so even closer to the East Coast. So, yeah, it's been great. It's been great to actually see football happening. Getting to watch some of the video highlights from the OTAs. It just gets me fired up for this season even more.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and we'll talk about something first up that we missed while we were going over draft stuff. And this was Behind the Grind. Is that the name of it?
Yeah, which is weird because I don't know where episode 2 is. Episode 1 has been out for a while now, but we have not gotten episode 2 yet. I was thinking those were going to be week-to-week things.
Yeah, I was going to make the comment. It felt like when this came out, I was like, oh, okay, episode 1, it'll come out in like a few days or like a week. And we haven't seen anything else. And it was actually really good. So I felt like they tried something different here. I don't know where the other episodes are. But overall, I liked a lot of content in there. I like that format. I know some people, that's not what they're into. They just want to see the football element. I personally love seeing the person element, the human element, and a lot of the coaching that we don't really get to see. And the Rams do a good job of doing that more than some other teams. But especially after, at least in my point of view, a lackluster kind of drill. All right, not drill. It was really nice to see this. Zach, what was your reaction to it? Did you like a lot of the different segments?
Yeah, so
or less need.
Yeah, I mean, initially I thought it started off kind of emotional because you talk about Les Snead, and it was kind of him, talking about the rebuilding process and or the retooling process, whatever he wants to call it. But then you see them taking down Ramsey's nameplate, and you see them cleaning out the lockers of Bobby Wagner and Leonard Floyd and things like that. And it's kind of emotional to kind of see those players, physically get removed from the stadium. And from the locker room. So I thought it was kind of emotional, but it was cool. It was cool to get an inside view of how, kind of inside Sean McVay's head of how he was thinking about going into the season or going out of last season and how he's preparing himself for this season. you get to see a little bit of Raheem Morris and Aubrey Pleasant, the new DB coach. You got to see them discuss their relationships. And the last thing that I thought was, that I highlighted in our notes was the Van Jefferson and his discussion about Cam Akers and kind of that relationship that they have built. I mean, I think even Van Jefferson said in that thing that, or in his press conference, it was like, Akers is like my best friend on this team. And so just getting to know that. And I think that we're going to see a lot of good things from Akers this year based on that feedback that we're getting.
Yeah, I definitely think it's a big year for both of those players. So leaning on each other is definitely a smart idea. Happy to see they're getting along, and hopefully they both do great. We really need both of them to pick it up. I personally love the stuff with Ernest Jones. Like, this was a guy I was so high coming out of college that I just knew he had that star factor in him, especially the way he played at South Carolina. As you guys can see, my family, my in-laws are huge South Carolina fans, so I got to watch him a lot in college, and he's been great for us, and we're going to need him to step up with Bobby Wagner leaving, and this team, the defense as a whole, he's going to be one of the more veteran guys on the defense. That's how young this defense is, and I know we can kind of lose the context of that, but it was really awesome to see that. Overall, really well produced, and I kind of want to see more Zach, just not at the pace of like once one every month.
It just makes us kind of forget about it. I mean, it just makes us forget. I mean, the next one was supposed to be about the draft. Now that would have been perfect because this one was somewhere between like a week, maybe 2 weeks after the draft. And so like they teased up the next one was going to be about the draft. Well, the draft is, it's a month ago. Like that's past us now. Like now we're into OTAs and we're ready to see these things happen. I don't know if we really need to see the behind the scenes of that. So I don't know. I mean, it's still going to be cool. I think they're going to do a really good job with it. But again, I think their timing of it needs to be a little bit more fast paced.
What, you're not dying to see behind the scenes for the draft lab? God,
I mean, like I said, I'm fine with seeing it. I think I want to see it, but I wanted to see it when it was fresh in my mind, when the draft was literally, a couple, 2 weeks ago would have been better than, waiting a month and a half before we get to see the next one. So that's my take on that.
I love that stuff. I want to see it even now. I just hated their theming for it. It didn't appeal to me. I'm sure it appealed to some people, and someone is driving through the but as stuff like that's subjective. So if you enjoyed it, I'm happy for you. I just want them to release this. I do like that type of content. They are, and this is a good segue, Zach. We got to see another video from the Rams from OTAs with Yarber, the wide receiver coach, coaching up this very young wide receiver core who did just add Tyler Johnson to the mix. From he mostly played with the Bucks. He was at Houston last year, but really didn't play.
I think he was on the Raiders as well.
Yeah. So Zach, what was your reaction to that? And can you guess? And I'm hoping you haven't looked at the stats for between Tutu, Bane, and Tyler. Can you guess which one out of the three has the most yards?
Out of who was the third one? Tutu, Tyler Johnson, and
Ben Skowronek. Yeah.
I don't know. Is it Tutu because he went far, or is it Tyler Johnson? I don't know. I don't know.
A career. Yeah.
Oh, career. I guess that's right.
They all have been in. Actually, Tyler Johnson's been in for 3 years, but he only played in 2 games last year, and he did not get any stats in either of those games.
Okay.
So the answer is Tyler Johnson. He got in his career so far, he has 529 yards and 2 touchdowns, beating both Tutu, who has around 300 yards and 1 touchdown on his career, and Ben Skoranek, who has 0 touchdowns and 509 yards.
That's
So
crazy.
I
I would
think the
not have
point I'm
guessed
making
that.
is I think this wide, yeah, he was a really from all the videos I saw of him, he was a solid rotational piece for the Bucks, who didn't really get a lot of opportunity to do more than that. So the point I'm making is
I
I
mean,
really
it.
think this wide receiver 3 position is wide open, and we'll see who can kind of come out of that.
I think that's what the Rams are saying. It seems. I mean, it's definitely a depth piece, but again, this Tyler Johnson hasn't done anything really to prove himself that he would be a wide receiver 3. I mean, he's taller. He's capable of get going up there and getting the contested catches. Um, but realistically, he hasn't proven anything. And so really, I think that position is going to be more of a rotational piece unless you can get somebody else really in a good rhythm. But I don't think that he's the solution. I think that they have other players on that team that really can bring it. And I think this was a cheap, inexpensive. He's been in the system for a while. He might be able to, help out the rooks. But as far as actual playing real time, I think it's going to be slim to none, similar to how he has been on other teams. So that's just, again, my opinion. It was really kind of weird. Usually we would hear hints of them signing a player before the official team actually posts it. We did not. This was just hey, Rams signed this person, and everyone's like, who? So
Mhm.
again, I'm not really looking forward to his highlight reel because I don't think it's going to be very much.
I mean, from everything I saw in his attempts, he's good at breaking tackles. The problem is a lot of the concepts he played for the Bucks was a lot of short yardage, quick slants, stop and goes, curl routes. So a lot of quick ding and dunk, Tom Brady's favorite thing to do, style of offense, and he was decent in that as a rotational piece for their third wide receiver, fourth wide receiver. So he's been in this situation before, and we'll see if he can thrive in the Rams' offensive playbook. I think OTAs will be critical for him, and the preseason will be very big for him, and I think that's going to be the case for um Tutu. I think Ben has already kind of cemented himself a little bit as a favorite of the coaching staff. I, I think he would have to really mess up the offseason to lose that kind of favorite status.
I mean, really, if I'm being honest, I feel like really Puka, I think, is the one who's really starting to shine in OTAs. I mean, we've seen a lot of good highlight reels from him, and so I really think that I think he's really kind of in that star spot to get wide receiver 3 if Tutu cannot, kind of compete for that spot of itself. Because, like I said, Tutu Atwell is a really good receiver. I think it's just his size that really puts him down. I mean, he's a super fast guy. We saw him make excellent catches and excellent plays last year, but it was just too few. And I don't know if he's going to be that blocker that I think they also need when you're looking at a Sean McVay offense. And as we keep saying, they need to get back to that old Sean McVay offense.
Do you not think there's a possibility they could try to make Puka this year's Brandon Powell? Try to push him as that kind of gadget player where they can put him on jet sweeps, they can make him in the backfield randomly, mix up different formations, stuff
For
like that.
sure. For sure. But I feel like they didn't utilize Powell to his fullest. I feel like he should have been more of a, let's see what would have happened if we had him as mostly an every down bag. Let's see if we put him as an, if you had Van Jefferson, you had Cooper Kupp, and you had Powell. I mean, obviously we didn't really have a chance because I think maybe Cooper Kupp played one game with Van Jefferson. So we really didn't get the chance, but I feel like Powell could have potentially been a quasi replacement for Robert Woods, and we just never really saw it. So, I would love that idea. I think that I would want to see more consistency in that receiving core. Yes, obviously they're going to take breaks and they're going to need rotational pieces out. That's going to happen, but I really want to see a set of 1, 2, 3, and let's go from there.
Mm-hmm. So big notable UDFAs. We'll touch on them a little bit here. And if we don't say your favorite UDFA, please don't give us a 1-star review for it. We'll touch them eventually. There's a lot of guys here. Tanner Brown, a kicker from Oklahoma State, made 26 of his last 27. One of the better kickers in Oklahoma State history. Lou Groza Award semifinalist. And then we have Christopher Dunn, kicker from North Carolina State. So a nice old kicker battle. I know those thrill you, Zach. That's what gets you up in the morning, is a kicker battle that you can watch in preseason.
Hey, a kicker can make or break a game if it's coming down to the wire. So we need somebody who's going to replace Matt Gay. So I'm all for this kicker battle because I do think it's a very important role into the Rams. Just like I think the punter is also a very important role in the Rams, and those are two positions that we're looking at rookies to fill those spots.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I still have PTSD from 2020 and 2019 also, like a little bit, because Greg Zuerlein just played terrible that year and cost us a trip to the playoffs. A lot of people forget that missed kick in Seattle. If we had won that game in 2019, we would have made the playoffs. And in 2020, I don't think we would have been really higher seeded if we had a better kicker or not, but it definitely hurt us in a lot of the early season games. So yeah, I'll take one. Moving on, Tyron Evans, running back of Louisville. I think this is a solid depth signing, Zach. I know he caught my eye a little bit whenever I saw Louisville play, which I think I watched one of their games, and he looked pretty good. The blocking for Louisville wasn't the greatest, but he looked pretty dynamic, and we'll see if he can do anything.
Yeah, like I said, like you said it perfectly. He's a good depth piece. We'll see what happens. They need someone to help back up Cam Akers, because I don't think they're quite set on who's going to fill in that rotational piece. So it's good to have that depth piece and kind of battle it out in OTAs and minicamp.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, a weird thing too was the Rams waived, I think, 2 or 3 players. One was actually Tyler's classmate or teammate, Tyler Hudson. Zach, what do you make of the team waiving off players before even OTAs really started? Like, I feel like you had to either really mess up or this team mismanaged something pretty badly.
Well, I mean,
it's not like we have people flowing in from everywhere to play for this team. We don't have full roster.
Sure. I mean, they did fill. I mean, I do believe they filled what they needed to for this to work. But they were undrafted rookies. It wasn't like they just. I mean, they were 3 players that they gave a shot for, and I think they didn't prove themselves when they had their chance, and so they just went ahead and waived them. I mean, we did have more signings since then. I mean, like I said, they just picked up Tyler Johnson. They had a couple other people that they did pick up, but But for the most part, I'm not concerned by this. There are positions that I think we had some depth in, but again, it has to work for this team. And if they find players who are not bringing everything to this game, then they're just not gonna do it.
Yeah. Brett Ripon comes to the team. I mean, I
They're just adding more
don't
to that
think he's
QB
good.
room. Yeah. I mean, it's just one of those things that I think they're just doing it to do it. We'll see what happens, but I think it's just to kind of build that QB room and then and go from there. Again,
To give him credit, I think he's better than either two backups we had last year.
I would not disagree.
I mean, that's not a high bar, Zach. But it's a bar, and happy he's here. Hopefully, he can improve, and you never know. NFL is full of crazy stories. So let's talk about the roster real quickly here before we end. Starting roster. QB pretty settled. Matthew Stafford's going to be starter. Stetson Bennett appears to be the permanent backup for the season. Of course, wide receiver, we have Cooper Kupp, Van Jefferson, Ben Skoranek, and Tutu. With that fifth spot, fourth, kind of being like, it looks like Puka will take control of that. Any comments on QB or wide receiver?
No, I mean, I think what you said it makes sense. We've kind of already discussed the wide receiver room for it, so I think those are pretty much set. Tight ends are the same animal. I mean, I think Tyler Higbee is still going to be tight end 1. I think Hunter Long is going to be tight end 2, and we'll see how that works out. It's really, and we know running back. Cam Akers is going to be running back number 1, and there'll be a somewhat of a committee behind him. But why don't you go through the O line, because that is kind of our biggest question mark of who's going to be that. And even Matt LaFleur came out this week and he said the best 5 are going to be out there. He's not giving the job to anybody. They have to earn it in OTAs. They have to earn it in training camp.
Yeah.
So give me your thoughts on how or what you see this O-line looking like coming 2023.
Yeah. So let's start with easiest to kind of like most competitive. I think Rob Havenstein, he's been a solid to really good right tackle for this team. He's going to be the right tackle this season, outside of injury. Of course, guys, put asterisks here. Injuries, as we saw last year, can throw off some stuff. Center, I think it's pretty clear Brian Allen is going to win out again. Like, I know he didn't have the greatest year, and people like to remind me that whenever I posted this on Twitter, and then I would like to remind him everyone around him was getting hurt, and then he got hurt. So it's easier to look bad when everyone around you is just not on the same wavelength as you. Like, a part of O-line is having chemistry, as we like to say a lot.
Yep.
So I think he's pretty sure. And then left guard, I would say, is our rookie, Avila. I keep on having to remind myself I don't want to butcher his name. Avila. I really think this kid is going to be a stud. I think he's going to be the best lineman the Rams have had, and since, I would say, outside of Big Wit, probably in the last 5 years. I really like him coming out of college, and I feel like the Rams really did do a good job with picking him.
So real quick, let me talk about him real quick, because I really do like him. I like that pick. He has confidence, he has passion, he has drive. When he had his media avail last week, the things that I noted, like he knows what kind of opportunity this is. This is something that you don't just throw under. And so, like, I see the passion, I see the commitment. I've seen what they've provided us to be able to see from the OTAs, and I think he has that drive and he has that built to be able to perform. I'm going through and I'm watching American Underdog again while I'm on my trip. I got random things to watch, so I'm watching that again and just kind of like you. It's the people who have that kind of passion who make a difference in a football team. Similar to Kurt Warner and his dreams, and you look at so many players who've had the passion, and that passion can really drive you to the next level. And so I think Avila has that drive. And I want to note, I might have said Matt LaFleur when I met Mike LaFleur. So don't comment on it. I realize that I might have said it. So there we go. All right, go back to your O-line.
No, and left guard was our worst position at O-line and has been for a few years now. It's been a really kind of like glossed over part of the O-line, just because we've had good tackles for the most part and a solid interior for most of McVay era. And it's nice to get a really solid left guard that can kind of fill in that hole. And then comes the two areas where I think are up for competition that people could win: right guard and left tackle. So let's kind of talk about right guard first, because for the most part, I think Logan Bruss, uh, he had positive stuff coming out from OTAs last year, and it was kind of a shame because didn't he get hurt the first play of the preseason? Like it was really weird.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah. I mean, it was in preseason. He didn't get a whole lot, but what we did see, I, OTAs are kind of in the middle of the year, but like once we start getting later, he never really like OTAs. I feel like he did shine, but then like later, like we never really saw a whole lot from him. And then obviously, yes, preseason happens. He gets injured first play, and he's done for the year. So he still has a lot to prove to me. He was a high pick for the Rams last year. I mean, he was the first pick for the Rams last draft. So realistically, he has to perform, and we'll see if he can beat the competition out.
yeah, and so it's hard to tell because we haven't seen, me and you haven't seen anything from him. So I'm just kind of going off of the fact he was drafted so high, and I think from everything they've said, they like what they see from him, and we'll see if he can win the job. Um, and then really left tackle, I think is going to be the biggest issue. Um, I I don't think Joe Newboom has it. He's looked good in spots whenever he's filled in. I thought he was going to be better than he turned out to be. Now he did get hurt, and the rest of the O line was also a mess to his right, so it's a little bit hard to judge. But when I did see other people come in, I just felt like they played better than Noteboom did. And I will give him credit. Alert Jackson. I know commenters have said that I like AJ Curry more. I like them both equally. I think they both came in pretty clutch, and they both played better than Noteboom, in my opinion, last year. So I think Jackson will probably end up winning that spot. I do think a Curry, which a lot of people haven't talked about, has a potential to win that spot too. It's completely open. I think that's going to be the one spot where you could see a Curry starting, and everyone's like, what? Why? And it's because he played better in preseason.
Yeah, I think, like I said, I feel like as far as the previous starters for the Rams, like the 2022 starters for the Rams, I think Noteboom is the one who would really be on the line to lose his job, lose his starting job.
Yeah.
He still would be a good depth piece. Maybe we try to move him to a different side.
Expensive.
But he is expensive. So, but I don't know what his contract is structured. So I don't know how well that is to move on from him. But he would be an expensive backup.
Yep. Very expensive. And that's our lineup for now for the offense. We'll probably do defensive lineup next podcast, Zach. So just a few little minor things. Rams get DB Vincent Gray off of waivers. I really like that. I think he has a potential to be in the rotation. Zach, any comments on Vincent Gray?
No, I need to do a little bit more digging on him and kind of look into his background. Like I said, I've been kind of out of things for a little bit, but
Traveling.
yeah, traveling.
He's from the Saints, second year player. I really do think this is a kind of steal. They claimed him, and I liked him coming out of college last year. I thought he would have been a quality fifth or sixth round style player. So we'll see. I think the Rams have done good picking DBs off of the waivers in last few years. So hopefully Snead got another gem because our secondary needs help.
Yeah, no, I don't disagree. I'm really looking forward to talking to our next episode. Maybe it'll come sooner rather than later, only because there's a lot that came out of this week too. We focus this episode primarily on the offense, but Raheem Morris is doing some great work, and he provided some insight this past week on who he thinks could replace the Jalen Ramsey role and some other things. So I'm looking forward to having that conversation too. Yeah, that's what I gotta say about that. And dude, that guy saved a kid's life. Like, come on now.
Oh yeah,
that guy is awesome.
That's cool. That's
Raheem Morris is a dog, and he for why people won't give him another chance to be a head coach is just beyond me. I'm glad the Rams have him. I think Sean McVay needs him this year. But yeah, he's a great guy.
Yeah, the fact that he didn't get a job after a Super Bowl is nuts to me.
Yep. All right. Well, I think that's going to wrap it up for this week's episode of the East Coast Rams podcast. Talking all about the offense for the most part this week. But if you have questions or comments and you want to share them with us, you could do so by going to by emailing us at feedback@eastcoastrams.com or hit us up on Twitter. Our official Twitter account is at East Coast Rams. You can find Ashton at RamsFanAshton1, and you can find me at Zach Mayer. Whew, okay. Other than that, you can find us at eastcoastrams.com. That's where you can find every version of this podcast, or you can go to youtube.com/@eastcoastrams to find the video version of this podcast. Ashton, anything you want to say before we sign off?
No, like and subscribe, guys. Comment down, give us our suggestions. Where were we wrong? Any feedback? Who do you think is, or give your O-line suggestion? Comment down below. Let us know, and we'll might even read your comments during the next pod. Same thing if you're on podcast listening to this, please like and subscribe. Please. What is it? Give a review.
Subscribe and smash the bell.
Yeah, smash the bell and give a review. That's really big for Apple suggesting it to other fans. We definitely appreciate it, and we love the constant listeners. There's a few of you guys, and we do really appreciate it. We put in a good amount of work. Zach did an awesome job getting our intro and outro videos done. They look fantastic, and this thing has grown, and we love doing this for y'all.
Yep. So catch us next time. We will talk about the defense. We promise we'll talk about all the stuff that Raheem Morris had said this past week during his time at the OTA's media avail. So with that, Ramley, we will catch you guys next time.